So.
Thank you for joining us for this interview, Dr. Catherine. It's a pleasure to host you. It's a pleasure to learn about your journey, how you've gotten to where you are, and also some of the lessons that you've gone through in that particular journey. So as we get started on this conversation, maybe you just give an introduction of who Dr. Catherine is, what you do on a daily basis, and what that entails. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for this opportunity. But the opinions that I will be sharing today are Catherine Miner's and not for the company. Okay, so Catherine, what do I do on a daily basis? Currently, the sub-regional LPVRP, I have 12 countries that I take care of in East Africa, and also the lead regulatory affairs for East Africa at Glenmark Pharmaceuticals Kenya Limited. And what that entails is let me start with the RA, because that's my right arm, that's my strong arm. It entails a review of the dossiers that we're submitting in these countries, and also working with the distributors, because each country has a different model. Some have an affiliate office or a scientific office, others we operate through distributors. So ensuring that the submissions have been followed through, and any queries or any support that they require in terms of want to now come in and step in and inform both sides, either the distributor side or the head office side, of what needs to be done in terms of a CTD setup of the dossier or non-CTD dossier and all that.
Okay. And how about from the pharmacovigilance standpoint?
Yes, PV. PV for me is also new. For about 3 years coming up for this, the President Board did release a guideline, which of course is sort of the benchmark for the region. But there are other countries as well that have really come in strongly, like Rwanda is coming in very strongly with their PV, and Ethiopia as well. So it's always lining on what we call regulatory intelligence. You always have to find out what the new national regulatory authority or competent authority has released, and how does this impact your requirements as an MAH. Do you need to appoint an LPVRP or QPPV? Some countries use QPPV as part of the European Union definition. So we have to ensure that all these persons are aligned to the kind of agreement we have with them in terms of collection of cases, adverse events, product quality complaint cases that we are receiving in, how all this is collated and transmitted to the head office, and also how we get the responses back to the distributor and back to the inquirer. So it's quite a learning process. It's of course, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I think the company saw that I can take up the challenge, and I think I'm doing a good job with it. So yes, usually my day starts around 7:30 in office to start with the different countries, get them off whatever needs to be done for the day. I'm the kind of person who eats the big ugly frog first. Yeah. I take on the big challenge in the morning, and then that sets the pace for my day, because some of them really do need quite a bit of support in terms of coming up to where we require them as Glenmark and also as regulatory authorities. So that's how I start my day. Go through the mails, whether it's regulatory related or PV related or other internal and external stakeholders, things that need responses and all that. Yep. So that's mainly how my day starts. It's quite interesting for a pharmacist to be in this field of PV and RA. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for that. So being in that role, doing the regulatory work, the PV related, and also engaging with stakeholders, maybe including even the regulatory authorities and all that. How did you find yourself in this space and this interesting dynamic that everybody would wish for? Maybe it's people with interest in regulatory affairs and PV.
Okay, I don't know how far back do you want me to go, immediately after graduation, or how far back do you want me to go?
Your journey,
because
from
it has been
graduation, maybe even from childhood.
Oh, I get okay. That's really far back, but I think if you ask my mother, she'll tell you that I always wanted to help people. So it did not matter whether I was going to be a doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist. but I wanted to always help people. And I did end up being a pharmacist, graduated with BPharm. And I think she was very happy because she knew this girl is in her element and she'll do whatever it takes for her to succeed in this space. So after graduation, I was the fortunate group who absorbed directly into government, and I worked at Makindu District Hospital for a year. And that was definitely an eye-opener for me in terms of what kind of requirements a pharmacist should have to deliver services, yes, to the citizens in rural setup. Yep, you'd come in, you find not so well set up storage area. So who do you talk to in terms of, you are aware that products are supposed to be stored in a certain way? This is not happening. So what do you do? Can you talk to the government? Who will you push there? So you work with the local NGOs, and we did, I think that was my first time to form what is called a BQ. I had no idea, straight from campus. I had to find out, Google everything, write an application to the then NGO in the area, and they were able to come in and help us set up our storage unit for the pharmaceutical products. So that has always been for me where I started. And then I wanted to do my MBA, because at the heart of it, I always knew I wanted to be somewhere in business, doing something. And there are wild skills that we didn't have trained coming from BPharm. But with the MBA, I had to come back to Nairobi. And unfortunately, then there were no online classes like it is now. You had to be in an in-person session. So that meant I had to leave my 100% assured job with the government. And I found Mpisha Hospital, did the interview, was successful and was picked. I started off as a pharmacist, general pharmacist in the hospital, and worked my way up to outpatient in charge. And I think while at Mpisha is where my pharmacy came out. I had a very good mentor, very tough lady, whom I still hold very dear for me because she really shaped my thinking as a pharmacist. That's Dr. Hadika Shah. And I'm grateful for her for what she instilled in me as terms of affirmative, being very cautious in what you're doing, how you're perceived. You have to be knowledgeable out there. You have to show that this is why it will benefit the patient, or this is why it will benefit the organization. Your decisions are important. Yes, bedside decisions about a clinical aspect you're not comfortable with. You have to pick up the phone, call that key opinion leader, be strong, and say, I think, Daktari, this dose needs to be changed, and have a discussion. That means you really need to know your stuff, you really need to nail your job. So I'm grateful for her at Mpisha Hospital. She really gave me a spine. She really strengthened my spine and my backbone in terms of pharmaceutical care of patients. Then from there, I think that's when I reached sort of my ceiling. I always say it's my personal ceiling in terms of clinical practice, and I wanted to move. So I reached out to my friends who had already moved earlier on in the industry, and I got a few of them who definitely, we met up for lunches as they were doing their own thing in the marketing space. And we had a few lunches, had a few discussions. Is this something you really want to do? This is what it entails. If you want to go into sales as a pharmacist, you're going to have a few looks, but do you really want to put food on your table and grow, or are you comfortable at that particular position? Yeah. So definitely I had to make a decision. I've done my MBA. Yes, MBA and clinical, they're miles apart. Yeah, not really, unless you want to become a CEO of a hospital. Yeah, pharmacists can become CEOs of hospitals and run them very, very well. Yeah. So I have my MBA. Do I really want to continue in clinical space? The answer was no for me. And I moved into regulatory affairs. My first company was Lord's Healthcare. And there as well was quite a challenge because I've come in, I'm learning on the job, and I'm also being given a portfolio of a product to sell, because there was no way that you'd just be purely RA as it is now. You had to be /this/this. So I did have a business portfolio, and I had a team under me, and we were selling a particular very unique product for neonates. And that surfactant was sort of the second in the market in the region. So that was also quite something to learn, to take it up, make the material to market it, align everything to the national regulatory PPB requirements, and set up a system that will outlive you. So that's where I now learned that you can start from somewhere, and starting is what is really important. Getting to know the basics of what you want to go into, until now when I joined Glenmark in 2019, and I've been there for the past almost 5 years now, doing now RA and PV. Yep.
Oh,
so that's where the journey starts. It's not a straight shot for me. I had to have a few conversations with very tough people who did not mince words towards me. They told me, yes, if this is what you want to do, this is what it will take. If you're ready, fine. If you're not, just keep off. So at Glenmark, I also continued working with the regulatory authority, and that's where now my journey to do the Master of Science in Regulatory Science came in. So I have my BPharm from the University of Nairobi and my MBA as well from the University of Nairobi, and then now Master of Science, which I am planning to complete from Purdue University. So that's where my journey is at the moment, and I hope to still continue growing in this space, in this particular space. It's quite interesting right now, RA. It's not just initially, yes, you're told RA is you just submitted dossiers. What else are you doing really? You're not preparing the product. You just put it into the system, follow up, and there's nothing else you're doing. But you ask yourself, is it? Can I actually review this dossier so that we get it first time right? Yeah, do I need 3-4 pages of queries? Can I actually check, have these people given me what the regulatory authority needs? So that as part of what Catherine represents as her brand, number one is excellence, that Glenmark dossiers are excellent. They are excellent already. So even if you're not working for a company like Glenmark, but can you review the dossier before you submit it? If it's you ask for, let's see, let me just go a bit technical, but I'll introduce Dr. as well. If you ask for the section on the API, do you just submit one page and you're comfortable, or do you actually move ahead and ask them, I need this CTD format and I need this and these sections done this way, this is missing? So can you actually query your provider, your employer before you submit to the authority, so that by the time it's getting to the authority, they look at your dossier, it's complete, they query you and you respond and you get a product submitted. You don't have to do any additional thing after that. You've already done your first time right, your first quality assurance step in the dossier evaluation. So you make the work for the evaluator also simpler than somebody looking at your work. They're like, you're giving me a whole day to look at, something that's really substantial. So that's what I would say for anyone who wants to come into this space. It's not just submitting papers. You can give it an extra as a pharmacist. You can do a little bit extra in terms of what you're submitting to the national authority.
Thank you. And actually, you mentioned something that is very critical in the sense that you're not just moving documents from one point to the other. And it's a critical aspect. I remember there's a conversation that we were having with some people with an interest in the regulatory affairs, and actually Prof was one of the facilitators for that session. The quality assurance aspect, you're giving the assessor time actually to first start tracing your document, the section they need, instead of doing that work for them to be able to review that. I think those capabilities are critical to master and also understand to a greater extent. But then based on your journey and based on how you travel that journey, how did you make that transition? How do you make that decision that you say, now I have an assured government job and I just decide to leave it? Because I know most of us at the moment, we would not be willing to take that risk. What was the push for you, and why did you get to a point that actually, how did you make that decision?
I needed to do more. In terms of what could I provide the people at Makindo. I've already come in, your storage space was not quite good, but now I'm living at a point where it is, can I do anything more in the wards? Okay, so do we have drugs? Why don't we have drugs? I remember I met Dr. Albert Ndwiga. He was then what was called the provincial pharmacist. We used to have provinces, that calculate my age at your own time. We used to have provinces. So he was the provincial pharmacist. And we'd have calls and conversations, and I'd just be pushing him and asking him, why is this not like this? And asking my med soup, why can't we do this and this? So I felt like the system was not moving at my speed. And of course, after that, now you're like, if this is how the system is, I need to do more. Can I do more at a different place? So I remember that for me, that's what made me do a 360 pivot completely to private sector. And I think that, yes, and there I met challenges. Now you're here, you have everything, you have the drugs. Now what are you going to do for the patients? You can make the decisions. Are you making them now? Are you strong? You said you were strong, you didn't have drugs, now you're strong. You have everything. Can you now do it? So for me, the pivot worked out well in terms of clinical practice. And I appreciate Fisher Hospital quite a bit because they did do quite a fantastic job, and they still do quite a fantastic job with the pharmacists who are there. They teach you and they enable you. So you really don't have an excuse not to outperform yourself. Yeah. Unless you just decide on your own, but you are empowered enough to perform as a pharmacist.
You have the resources that you need to be able to execute. So if it doesn't work, then it is a personal issue. And yes, I think that is 100% on you. Yeah, and that is a good bit for me. One, to ask you a question on the same, but also to bring in Prof. Mbwiiri here. In terms of what drive and actually what are the enablers for you to pursue this excellence that you want to get better, want to do more, and want to actually deliver things spectacularly well in your spaces?
Okay, I would say personal branding. Yeah, one of my mentors asked me, what's your brand? What if somebody hears your name, what are they going to associate it with? Yeah, what are you working towards as a professional? If somebody hears Dr. Catherine Maina, do they think, okay, all right, okay, fine. But when they think, that's somebody I can get information from, that's somebody I know who can work and get this done, that's somebody who works with integrity, and her performance, you cannot question it. Yep. So that personal brand, that was one question my mentor asked me, is what is your personal brand? Yeah. If somebody had your name, can they associate it with anything good, anything productive, anything helpful and useful in society? So that for me was my pivot. Yeah. So you have to associate yourself with excellence, not perfection, but excellence. That whatever you do, you're doing it 100% switched on.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. And actually, I'd bring in Prof here in terms of his work in the regulatory affairs space as well, but also in terms of professional excellence and pursuit for greatness in his own space. Maybe Prof, you'd also share with us what are the drivers to you being where you are and some of the key enablers and why you commit to that excellence across the journey.
Thank you. Thank you. What to really say? Mine also has been quite a journey, as I said some time back. Was it last month? What I can say is that even me, I started, of course, in public service, and I started as an intern at Kenyatta National Hospital. I moved to Mbagathi District Hospital, and after 1 year, moving to Mbagathi District Hospital, I was made the pharmacist in charge, or superintendent pharmacist. And really, you could see the patients. At Mbagathi Hospital, there were so many patients. You would receive about 5,000 patients in a day. That was quite a number, and quite a number of them were from the poor background, the sprawling Kibera, and some of them would really not, quite a number would not really be able to purchase, to buy things, and we worked hard. And the good thing is that we were in partnership with the MSF. I think that was MSF Belgium, and we were able to really provide the critical medicines to these people, and eventually pushed myself when it came to establishing or piloting of the HRT, that is highly active antiretroviral therapy. That was piloted in Mbagathi Hospital. That's where people started receiving HIV treatment at an affordable cost. Because when I started as a pharmacist some time back, because I'd done also some attachment at Mata Hospital, you would see the cost of the drugs would go up to more than 100,000 or 200,000 for treatment. Of course, that will not be affordable, not even to the middle class. That is not affordable. But eventually, with the piloting, by the time I was leaving Mbagathi Hospital, had about 7,000 patients on treatment, which was quite a big, it was a success. And of course, thereafter, it was spread across the country. And that's how the HIV treatment in public hospitals came to be. and very effective, because at the time we were studying, and especially undergrad, you'd really, the lecturers would show you images and you're so scared, Steve, and you're seeing people also, because they didn't have treatment, they were wasting, and it was really, it wasn't that good at the beginning, but eventually when these patients were put on treatment and you see them becoming very healthy on nutrition, well, it was quite a journey. And here I pushed myself so hard, and then thereafter I was moved again and still was able to serve. I did something within a short period also at Pumwana Hospital, and I was able to work to change the system in a way, like you'll be required to send the money that you collect to the center, to the clerk. And one day we sat with the superintendent, and I just told him, there is no way you can have children. 8 children were being born vegetative because of the delayed, protracted delivery. And we just decided, no, we are not going to give them money. We are going to talk to the suppliers, because the suppliers are not being paid for very long. We decided we are going to talk to the suppliers and give them some money, and so that they would be bringing the medicines. And of course, the people at the top, the MOH, and there was not very happy, but the system started running well. The medical superintendent was pushed out of government after some time. That is sad, but I'm happy things worked. And I think now today, Pumwani is much better than it was before, because you're able to work with all the stakeholders, that the suppliers of medicines, the doctors within the facility, and we're able to really ensure better healthcare to patients. Then after to regulatory, and this is where my life has been, because in the hospital, I think I stayed about 5 years. It was just a transition, really. And because I didn't stay in Pumwan that much, I think it was like a year or so. And then thereafter, I moved to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, where I've been for most of the time, almost from 2005 to this year. It's been quite some, it's almost 17 years, isn't it? Yeah. That was, and here I started learning now regulatory science, because it was never taught in school. We did well, and I was sponsored for masters in 2008, that is 3 years after joining, and went to Kingston University, London, and there I put my effort a lot. I emerged the best student for master's class with distinction, and I was picked for PhD before I finished my dissertation for masters, and that was in 2009, because it's 2008 September to 2009. I think in July is when I was picked for PhD, and I finished my master's by September again, 2009, came back in October, and was back again to UK January, the following January, that is 2010, and pursued my PhD. Yeah, I put a lot of effort to really excel, and now for PhD, and my supervisor was the dean of school. She was very busy, and I was handed over to another supervisor. The supervisor moved to another university. I was handed over to another one, and the good thing is that they would do it in a very organized way, but and what I was taught, this really a supervisor is Dr. Kirby. The way he taught me to be independent, because he would only ask for results about 3 months. Every 3 months, you would sit with him in the office, submit the report, you look at it, critique it, and so I learned to work on my own, and I learned to design things on my own, and of course, know where to go and check. And that is something people have to learn to. There is another doctor, Dr. Graham. I was with him. Unfortunately, he passed. And we really developed some good relationship. He came even to Kenya. When he came to Kenya, he would always come and look for me. I was able, with my supervisor, he was able to push me so hard in a way that the problems that I was encountering in the laboratory, until it came a time I was able to overcome those problems, and I was able to come up with a new technology. Even though it wasn't commercialized, we tried to commercialize, and it's something of whereby a technology of making beta lactams to be very stable at room temperature when they're in suspension, and it worked very well. Yeah. Anyway, it's a story for another day, and that's how I pushed myself. In research, I excelled. I was the best. Again, I was picked. I was the best. The supervisor said I was the best PhD student in our cohort, and I'm happy about that. And here I am now. I again worked with the East Africa community, East Africa community as an assessor, and also as someone, as a trainer of the others, because I grew up in it again, and to an extent that I would chair meetings at the East Africa community and be able to enable the new assessors. And at PPB, as I said earlier, I moved up to the level of the Chief Principal Regulatory Officer, which is PPB2 within the organization. And again, at the continental level, I was able to, I'm the founding chairperson of the Evaluation of Medicinal Products Technical Committee, and I ended the chairmanship in May. And then after that, I left and came to UNICEF. At UNICEF now, I'm working as a technical specialist at Supply Division, which is in Copenhagen, Denmark. Yeah, and yeah, that's my story. It has been quite some journey, and I hope to still continue moving, of course, to pursue being to higher positions as I grow into it, and I hope it works, yeah. And I think it should, yes. Thank you.
And we pray it works for you, Doc, because there's a lot of hard work, and actually that is one attribute that you added to it, in the sense of there is hard work to it. You need to exert yourself, you need to apply yourself. I think we need to hear more of that, other than just looking at, well, it might be chance, but chance happens to the prepared.
Excellent.
Not only that chance being there for you. So I think that is a very critical bit that you've mentioned that we need to adopt as well. But then in terms of your stories as well, Dr. Catherine, Prof, you're looking at it from the people who have supported you. You mentioned Dr. Shah at MP Shah Hospital being a critical person in terms of how you are making your career moves and all that.
Yeah.
Prof, you've mentioned your lecturers, your supervisors as key enablers. What are the other support systems that you've had that have actually enabled you to get to where you are? Because it's not individual effort. There is the individual effort, but you need a supporting framework and ecosystem to be able to make that change.
Yeah, there is. And by the way, I failed to mention that I also worked for 8 years as a consultant to WHO. And this is where I really now became my education as a scientist within the university could be applied so well at the WHO PQ and be able to understand, especially in pharmaceutical development area. And you can see now the scientists also at the WHO PQ, they would train us every Monday. When we come for sessions, and that is what they do, the senior scientists, they would train people for 2 hours, at least for every session, you have to be trained. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you may know some, but it always adds to something new. What is the new thing in science? What is the new thing in industry? And it's really is a network. You must have a mentor. That is a must, because if you don't, then how do you move fast?
Yeah.
You must have someone you can depend on in terms of mentorship, and I think that is the most important. And also yourself willing also to mentor someone, because as you mentor someone, they'll ask you questions, and you may also learn from those questions, because you'll find, oh, I never thought about that. And you'll go and look at, think of it in a different perspective. As you help that person, you are also helping yourself and the rest of your team.
Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Dr. Catherine.
I think for additional, yes, mentorship and your network. Some people say your network is your network, and that's 100% true, because you can't do it alone. There are people who are coming behind you, and there are people who've gone ahead of you. So for me, I would say gathering friends. Yes, during the postgraduate, the Master of Science, gathering friends around the region from Tanzania, Botswana, Zambia. You have all these other different aspects of people who are pharmacists, who practice in very different settings, and they're also doing a few different things from you. Definitely the practice might be the same, but there are other aspects of their practice that might be new to you, that you'll be like, I didn't think of it that way. I didn't know how to apply myself that way. I remember one of our Tanzania classmates really brought out the aspect of organic chemistry. And you see that you actually apply everything you learn in your BPharm is applicable in a specific space. There are friends from Uganda, and they were excellent in terms of their lab analysis. They explain to you something, it's like you've never seen it before, and now all of a sudden it's clear that's why it works this way. So that's why this has to be done this way. So gathering friends along the way, meaningful relationships along the way, and being, as Prof has said, willing to learn. Na pia kujituma is a must for you to succeed. I say you have to risk to succeed. So I'm also privileged actually at Glenmark to have a pharmacist on board, a couple of pharmacists on board who we do exchange ideas with, because there's a way we think as pharmacists that maybe somebody else in a different profession might not see it, but for the two of you able to click that there's something off with this particular statement, or there's something off with this particular information. So collect your friends, and then also don't just rely on pharmacists. You need to have lawyers as friends. They'll help you in a lot of legal jargon that we do experience in regulatory and compliance. Collect your friends from engineering. Everyone has something to add into your life. So don't just perceive a silo kind of existence that I only want to be aware of pharmacists who are in regulatory. Now you need to have clinical people. They'll tell you why the information in your PIL is not going to make any sense to anyone who reads it. You need to have friends as well in let's say areas of business. If you put this product in this market, it's not going to do well. And this is why it's not going to do well, no matter how hard you push for it. Yep. If you want to set up your own company, you definitely need a lot of friends in different spheres so that they can assist you in thinking. You might set up yourself up quite a bit in rudimentary thinking of just a pharmacist, but to succeed, you need a lot of other different people. Prof said his professors were leaving, others were coming in. They are going to teach other places. WHO, he said, definitely they go through a training. So you also have to be willing to learn and to teach. Yep, I'm very grateful for him, because he did show that you're a pharmacist, you're a regulatory pharmacist, as additional to other officers at the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. I remember one, definitely people in Starehe Boys know this statement. Yeah, if you're going to clean a cup, make sure it's the cleanest cup. If you're going to clean the floor, make sure it's the cleanest floor. Yeah, and he also told me, if you're going to do these dossiers, make sure your dossiers are worthwhile for us to take a look. We don't have to give you 3 pages of queries. Yeah, query yourself first before you submit this thing. Take a few more days. Yes, business is pushing you, but is business going to add to your career? Or do you want us to perceive you as the person who submits deficient dossiers? Yeah, every time we see if somebody just relaxes because additionally from what you've submitted, there's nothing more new information that is going to come from you. So you have to understand that who you are represents yourself for a very long time, and everyone you collect along the way is of additional value, apart from your parents, definitely, who always wish you well. Your relatives sometimes wish you well, and they can also hold your hand and introduce you to different people, but make meaningful connections, make meaningful relationships, and be thorough with yourself. Be as brutal with yourself. Yeah, people say you need self-love. Yes, but what is self-love? Is it in discipline? Yeah, if you really do love yourself, are you going to be indisciplined? Are you going to associate yourself with aspects that actually bring out the best in you? And what does that mean? Sometimes you have to shave off people. It's painful. Yeah, they're your friends, you love them, but it's not adding value to your life, to your career, or to your success. So what do you do? So I would say definitely the people who you surround yourself with do matter a lot. You're not an island. The people you surround yourself with matter quite a bit.
Thank you for that. And actually, it's very critical in terms of the relationship that we make, we forge, the people that we walk to the journey of life with. They share insights with you that you'll never know, and that is how you get to learn, and that is how you also get to challenge yourself. And the aspect that you mentioned, that being brutal with ourselves, is a very critical bit, in the sense that when you talk about self-love, we look like we're just pampering ourselves. You need to pamper yourself, but you also have to face yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the difficult truths that will get you to grow. Because if you don't do that, then ultimately you'll be the greatest liar to yourself, and you don't get to win the success that you're looking at. So thank you for those perspectives. And for me, the other question that I would be keen to understand is, what are the greatest hurdles that you guys have dealt with in your professional lives and your personal lives as well, and how did you overcome them? Because I know most of us, we are having different challenges that we are contending with, and how do we go about them? That is the challenge. So how do you guide your decisions and some of the hurdles that you've gone through?
Well, okay. Well, learning something new, you have to accept that you're a lifelong student. If you're going to do something new, you just have to accept you're a lifelong student. I remember one of this WhatsApp group, somebody mentioned Bill Gates. And if you see his yearly book reading list, you can try and match it. Yeah, you might say, yes, he's a rich guy, he has all the time in the world to read, but he's a very busy person. So how does he get time to do all this other reading additional? So you have to understand that being a lifelong learner comes with being a scientist. You can't say I know everything about whatever I am doing. You just have to accept that there's always going to be new information, different information. COVID taught us that. Yeah. And you have to accept that aspect of life. As for challenges, yes. I remember being part of stock control. We had introduced a new system at the hospital, and we had to review how it's charging the patient. Is it overcharging? Is it undercharging? How exactly? You've given one paracetamol. Has it actually picked one paracetamol? So we had to do a night shift where we reviewed the patient bills. Yeah. So you have to understand that there are aspects of excellence that come with a bit of sacrifice. Your night shift, you have to review the T-sheets. It has charged correctly or it hasn't charged. That's part of quality assurance. Who has to do it? It's you. They are not going to hire an external person to understand an internal system. It's you, the person who's going to operate this system, that has to tell them this didn't work, this worked. Try and change this because this is not working for us. We have to input this kind of data in the system. This is how it's picking it. The reproduction, yeah, it's like we've fed in garbage and garbage is out, but we've actually fed in what we need to feed in. So can your system give us the output that we require from it? So you have to also make the sacrifice towards excellence, that it is going to be you who's going to make a tough call. If you find that you're working with an individual probably who's not doing up to par, either have a conversation with them as a friend. If it's not possible, ask your supervisor, because at the end of the day, you have to cover your back. Yeah, you want to do the right thing. Somebody else wants to do something dodgy. It's going to impact the whole team. So you're going to sit down quietly and remember, I saw that and it was wrong and I didn't say anything. It's okay. I know most of us want to be liked, but up to how long will you want to be liked? At some point, your age of being liked moves out of the window. Yeah, you have to like yourself. Yeah, at some point, you're going to be remained with yourself. Will I like myself and the decisions I'm making in a point of time? So for me, I'd say every challenge, you have to first get it right, understand there's a risk and a sacrifice to that challenge, and make the right decisions as much as is possible within your sphere of influence.
Making the tough decisions. And that is a critical bit here. Thank you. Prof, anything from your end?
Yeah, thank you. I think about challenges, really, what I'll talk about is the COVID-19 period. It really was quite some challenge. Sometimes you're conned and you're told that hospitals don't have vaccines. The country does not have vaccines, and sometimes you would work up to midnight. There's a day I stayed with in the office up to midnight and processing, looking at the dossiers and asking people to look at their parts of the dossiers and up to the final end, whereby we are recommending to the CEO. But now that role fell on me because there was no one available, and I listened to issue some documentation so that vaccines could be brought into the country. Yes, that was really challenging, but we were able to work it out. Of course, coordinating with the AUSA one who was responsible, coordinating with the Ministry of Health, with the Office of the PS. So I'd work with the technical assistant to the PS, and also being the chair, being a member of the COVID-19 National Task Force and the chairperson of the Subcommittee on Regulatory Affairs. I really earned a lot in my plate. Yeah, but we were able to overcome. And I remember one evening sitting down to prepare part of the speech for President when he was in Belgium. Remember the day Kenya was chosen as a hub, to present a speech, and I was told, I think that time I was going to Mlolongo, and then I'm told, you've got to prepare a brief to the cabinet secretary. Then 30 minutes later, you've got to prepare part of speech for the president. Okay. And now I do not have my laptops. I am in another route. So I came back in the evening, and I sat and was able to prepare these things. I think I was sleeping at 3 a.m. Yeah, because I came late, and then to do everything. You write everything, write the brief, write the speech. I think we were sleeping at very late. And again, when the meeting on IT in terms of how to improve the IT system, well, anyway, it was quite a day. It was quite a night, but we were able to overcome, and everything ran well. No one knew how much sacrifice had been done. You're just seeing on the screen the president reading speech and all that.
Yeah.
The CS. Yeah, that's how tough it can be, but you have to be tough as well.
Yeah, we see good things on the screen and we feel like it was an easy thing. It just happened. Somebody didn't sleep.
Yes.
At the end of the day, now the family bears the burden of your hard work and your commitment.
Yeah, it's hard. It can be hard. And today I can tell you, even now when I'm out here and we have a little girl, of course, and the boy is 9, and the girl is at 6 months. I remember at times, I don't know, she would pick, when Catherine would pick the phone, she would pick the phone and throw it away. That was, was it a few weeks ago? That was in the last week of May. And I did not understand, was it anger? Of course, she can't tell you she's angry, but you can see.
I can feel it.
So it's quite some sacrifice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sacrifices. Thank you for that, Prof.
Yeah.
But these are the sacrifices that we commit to, but we know why we are pushing for it and how it helps us and how it impacts the lives of ourselves and also those people who care about us. And it's important that we know how that goes along. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. So the other bit, actually, towards the end of the discussions as we're moving along, beyond the professional life, beyond your career and all that, what do we know about you? What do you want us to know about you that you do beyond your career work?
Oh, wow. Okay. I've got a family, and part of my family is on the screen today. And I said earlier, yes, we've got a boy, we've got a son who is in grade 4, and a daughter. She's 6 months now. And really, it's nice. It's good to have a family, because when these kids you call you Baba, you feel nice. Even the young one, she started saying Baba at 5 months, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, and it feels happy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Again, of course, we're involved in terms of community work through some some welfare community, so helping people back home, in helping ourselves as a group, and also at times, of course, whenever need is needed, helping the community through our welfare group. Yeah, so that's what I can say I participate in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Over to you, Doc.
Apart from, yes, being wife mother, I love hiking. Yes, I enjoy the big outdoors, and I try and also bring our son along so that he can also get the aspect of this world is bigger than you. If your problems are big at the moment, just get out there, go up Yangon hills and just get lost in how big other things are. And in that space, I usually end up finding solutions to whatever challenges I'm having. Yes, having a community, a spiritual community, church, that also is quite a good thing to have around. People who you can rely on for your health needs in terms of spiritual upbringing. Also learning financial literacy is something I've taken on for myself this year, because these taxes are not going anywhere. They're going to be paid, and we need to know how we are going to survive and make sure that we also comply with the government. So yes, financial literacy is something that I am currently taking on board as a life skill. Yeah, I wish definitely that it had been taught straight out of campus, as I'm seeing some of the challenges our interns have not been absorbed. Yeah, you are getting 150K, but at the end of the year, you don't have it. What have you been doing every month with 150K? You don't have a family yet. So that, I think I would wish is taught partly, even if it's an elective course in campus, so that somebody comes out, or even high school. Yeah, it can start as early as high school. When you come into campus, you know how to manage your money. So that definitely is other things that we do apart from regulatory PV work, working until 3 a.m. We also have to go out there and sort of like ground ourselves back to, there's more to life than just work. There's more to us as well than just being providers of bills. There's also us in terms of the spiritual selves. We also have to be at peace with ourselves and with God. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Being a wholesome individual, that you're able to anchor yourself in other things beyond the career life and all the professional career. So thank you for that. At this moment, what are your priorities in terms of growth and also influence, and what you'd want to see yourself in the next 10, 20 years?
No. That sounds like an interview for a job. Let me just put it out there. Let's see. Secretary General, WHO.
You better
but definitely, I would want to be at the pinnacle of my career in terms of somebody who you can go to as an influence of decisions in terms of regulation in the region. Definitely, that would be something worthwhile. I know I'm very fortunate for the people that I work for. They give me autonomy and they allow me to succeed. So they have given me a very good space to become all that is really for me to become. And I'm grateful for that aspect. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Prof?
About what I would want to become?
Yeah, growth priorities and areas of influence as you look into the next 10, 20 years.
Well, maybe to be an entrepreneur later as I retire. Maybe, I don't know, to be a politician, maybe, but some people tell me, no, don't enter into politics, you lose all your reputation. But definitely, what I really would want to see is to grow within the UN system and hopefully reach the highest heights. Yeah. Yes, that's what I would want to see. And of course, after that, I'd want to come back to Kenya and I'll be able to contribute maybe within Kenya and within the East Africa community at whichever position or at whichever capacity that will be.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. And you've mentioned politics, and I was like, I've never heard anybody say you've lied, and I've never interacted with you where you lie, and most of our politicians, we're used to them lying. Would you make it? Or you're a different breed of politicians?
Yeah, it will be difficult.
But it is well, yeah. So what does success look like for you? What is success to you as a person?
Success first is the success number one is you're happy with yourself first. Two, and the most important is still number one is your family. Yeah, and especially your nuclear family. Are you happy as a family? As you growing as a family? That's number one. And again, of course, success in terms of you can afford things that are required in life, that you need in life anyway, of course, that you can be able to take care of yourself and family. I think that would what I would call success. But also success in career-wise is being to solve, having that feeling that as you grow up, you're influencing and you're impacting people's lives in a positive way, that they can be able to say yes. They may not even recognize, but that they are better off than they were before because of you, then that is good. Yeah.
Thank you. Over to you, Doc.
Definitely. First, as a mother, I would want my children to be happy in the areas that they will decide to practice and live their life, knowing that I have instilled in them enough for them to succeed and to thrive, whether they'll be near me or they'll be away from me. I'd definitely call that success. I think my mother considers herself successful with her children. So definitely that is one area. Success within the family. There's also having had a relationship with my creator and knowing that, yes, every step that I took, every challenge I took on, he was definitely there. Every road that he opened up for me, every door he opened up for me, and those that he closed as well, because we have had rejection, that they were all meant for my good. And that, yes, in the days to come, things are going to be brighter. Definitely being able to afford a good living. Yeah, we always say as women, we want a financially stable man. But am I also myself financially successful in terms of, as a woman, can I also give to my people what they actually need on a day-to-day, and also for their life to be successful? Can I provide for them as well? And also, as personally as Catherine, success in my professional life would definitely be somebody who is able to mentor others and create others. I've talked about mentors along the way because I've really tried to collect good mentors who've helped me, who've guided me, who've shown me opportunities in terms of after retirement practice. What else? I know one of my mentors is having the time of his life. His family is thriving, and he's also post-retirement a consultant in the region. So, and he's Kenyan. He went to University of Nairobi. He came from a local school somewhere in Murang'a, yeah? And he's gone to the heights. So if he is able to do that, what kind of decisions, what kind of careers did he pursue for him to be at this level in his life? And right now, those are the kind of people I'm gathering and listening to keenly, and also watching keenly and holding them close so that they can also help me and guide me in that aspect of your family comes first, your career comes second, but what in that career do you actually want to become? What do you want to be doing every day when you wake up post-retirement? Do you just want to wallow away and confirm that you really didn't gather anything, or do you actually want to visit this child and see that doing well? You want to go to your company, see that it's doing well and everything is working out. So for that, definitely those three, yes, my family, my God, and definitely my career.
Great, thank you so much for that. So the last question on a light note, how is the experience being in a family of career enthusiasts and passionate people like you, a doctor and a prof, and how are the kids being raised in that kind of a setting?
Raising them like monkeys. Let children be children. Let children be children. We found our way. I know Prof will tell you which primary school he went to. We found our way, and they will also find their way. They might have a better access route. I went to a city council school. I was not in a group of schools, so we will not baby them. They will definitely grow up the African way and learn to have grit and yes, and resilience built in them that they can succeed. Yeah.
Prof?
Yeah, I think it's what she said. Yeah, let them be, and of course, definitely they are going to better schools than they went. You know, myself, I grew up in the village in Meru, and our school, I think, not so many people would go to good high schools, and you'll just go, you graduate from that primary school, you go to a local secondary school, and off you go into the market. You don't get any, you don't pursue, you're not able to go to university. But what I realized is that our here in that primary school, we had a group of, we changed things again in a way. I think we were 4 students that did so well that we went to very good schools, and out of those 4, 2 have PhDs. Yeah, 2 became professors, and thereafter the story changed also for the school. But I believe also there was some change in terms of teachers. They mixed. The roles were changed, and my dad was a teacher in that school, and thank you for being a dad and a teacher at the same time. I was able to get a lot from him and to learn a lot, including business, including geography. You teach geography, and it was very good, really. And we were able to push, and with the changes and the responsibilities that were given, the school was able again to start producing graduates that will go all the way to university. And before, it wasn't happening, but to date it has produced so many engineers and doctors, which is a good thing. Yeah. So you can grow from a village and become something. And I believe my children, of course, they are better in a way that they are going to the best. They'll be able to access better schools. Yeah. So, but again, also accessing a better school doesn't mean that you succeed. It is your attitude, it's your grit. So that is what I'll teach them, is that even though that you go to a very good school, it's just a name. If you don't put grit, your attitude, you will not succeed. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And actually reminds me of what my dad used to tell us. I also grew very deep in the village. The first time I came to university, and to Nairobi, was in 2013. When I was coming to the university, then I found myself in Kiambu, in JKUAT again. I wasn't even in Nairobi. My dad used to say, you're talking about the school, that our school produced 100 A's and everything. What did you get as a person?
Yes, that's
the school got 100 A's. Yes, that is good for the school. But what did you get? Because at the end of the day, you'll be graded at a personal level. Yeah. That is very, very important. So thank you for that. So my last question, what would you tell the younger you? If you would you tell younger Prof. Peter, younger Peter Mbwiiri, what would you tell younger Catherine Maina at this particular moment as a piece of advice, who is looking at making a career for themselves and growing in their life journey?
I think the point, as I've said, is be resilient. Be resilient, be honest, build your strengths, understand your weaknesses, and try to minimize them. Build a network. You must have a network, and with a network, you should always strive. However, many times you fail, strive. And the story I'll give is, again, when I was doing my PhD, my experiments failed for 4 months. So I'll go to a laboratory every day. My experiment failed for 4 months. And my supervisor was always there encouraging. So as a mentor, also encourage, but as the one now doing it, don't do so. And eventually, when I went to publish the data, the GSK, the director of science in GSK was, wow, can I have this abstract? Yeah. And remember, this data failed for 4 months. So never give up. Never give up. Yeah, that's what I would say. Keep on. And that is grit. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Doc, over to you.
I would say do it afraid. That project that you're fearing, that probably application that you're afraid they'll reject me, I'm not good enough. Do it afraid. They will reject you, so what? You have another opportunity to apply somewhere else and they will accept you. If it's that Fulbright scholarship that you want to go, you were thinking regulatory is not taught in Kenya, how can I afford it? There are scholarships, apply for them. If you want to go to Northeastern University, you want to go to, I don't know, which other universities offering regulatory, you want to be the best in your field, do it afraid and then start early. Yep, I know some people stumble on luck and others have to create it for ourselves, yeah? So do it afraid, keep your ear on the ground, don't be a recluse, yeah? Know who you can get information from, if it's the sites that you need to visit, the universities that you need to visit. I remember for me, the application for Northeastern came and I had succeeded. And unfortunately that January, my dad passed away. So that went like that. I had everything, the visa, everything was done apart from the scholarship. So I would say to my younger self, do it afraid. Things will come. People will die, they'll leave you. But do it afraid, because at the end of the day, you'll be left with yourself. What will you say that you didn't take that opportunity because of what exactly? Yeah. So have a very good reason why you didn't do something. Don't just say because they wouldn't have accepted me. They accepted me with my BPharm into a master's course in the US. So why are you not applying for it? Who is it that is telling you you're not good enough to do that course? Yeah. So I'll definitely say do it afraid. Just press send. Make sure, first of all, it's excellent. Yeah, don't just give something shoddy. Make sure it's excellent and then press send. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a great conversation and I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. Thank you for sharing your journey, sharing your experiences. And I'm hoping that the young professional, young pharmacist watching this video at the end of the day would be able to gather the insights, apply themselves. The most critical bit that I would just pick from what you've shared is put in the work. If you don't put in the work, you don't pursue excellence, you'll never attain it. But if you don't attain it, you'll have yourself to blame for not putting in the work. Along the journey, be willing to learn, continuous lifelong learning. Learn from others as much as you can and learn from every resource that you get. Build a community of peers and networks and people who are willing to support you in that journey. And at the end of the day, you are not only your career, you have a life beyond your career. How are you nurturing your spirituality, your family, social life? And the better you get at it, the better you will be. So thank you so much for the conversation, and I look forward to future engagements as we keep pushing and keep growing as individuals. Thank you so much.
All the best. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.